The time has come to attempt the high school AP Computer Science exam. And we're going for a perfect score. Now, I haven't done any preparation for this exam. I've never seen the exam, so I have no idea what to expect. Will it just be programming questions? Will it be other computer science topics like, I don't know, theory of computation, operating system concepts? We'll just have to see. Now, I do have a master's in computer science, so in theory, this should be a relatively easy test. But again, we'll just have to see. And it is also a 3-hour exam. Now, why I'm doing this to myself, I have no idea. But I am gonna try and complete it in under 2 hours. And if I bomb it, I could always just delete the recording and no one will ever know. So if we wanna take a look at the exam itself, we see that, now this is the practice exam. I didn't really wanna go through the registration process and everything for the real exam, but it should be, relatively close to, or a close simulation to what the real exam is. So if we scroll down, there are 2 parts here. You have an hour and 30 to complete each part. The first part is a multiple choice section which contains 40 questions, and it accounts for 50% of the final grade. The second part is an hour and 30 minutes as well, and it's a free response section. So I don't know if that means like fill in the blank. I'm assuming since there are just 4 questions, that means it's probably a coding section. So how I'm gonna grade that, I guess we'll just have to see. And this accounts for the other 50% of the final grade. And then you get a 10-minute break between each section. So section 1, multiple choice question. Again, it's 40 questions. And I don't feel like I need to read all this. I think I'm just ready to get started. So I'm gonna take actually a break here for a second, get ready, and then I'm gonna come back and start this. All right, so question 1, let's get into it, and let's start the timer. All right, consider the following method. Okay, assume that the array nums has been declared and initialized as follows. Okay, getting text while I'm doing this. All right, so public static int mystery int array. So what value will be returned as the result to the call mystery num? So you're passing this array into mystery. We're initializing x to 0. We're having this for loop, and then we're adding to x, and then we are returning x. So we have this nums, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 elements, and we are looping through, starting with 0. Going to k array.length, and then we're incrementing by 2 every time. So initially it's gonna be 0, and we're gonna add 0. No, we're adding array at 0, so it's gonna be 3, and then we're adding 2, so it's gonna be, so normally they have a pen or pencil and paper. I'm gonna be trying to do this all night. Actually, let me just use this text editor here. I'm gonna be writing my answers in here. Let me use this as kind of like my notes. So we have 3, and then we're adding a 1, and then we're adding a 1, and then we're adding a 2, right? So it's gonna be 3, 1, 1, 2, right? Because we're gonna be index 0, 2, 4, then 6, and then it's gonna go to 8, and then it's gonna break out of this loop and then return x. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so the answer should be C. All right, that wasn't too bad. Hopefully this isn't one of those questions where it just gets harder with every question. All right, let's move on to question 2. This already looks harder. Consider the following partial class declaration. Okay, we have a class with 3 integers, constructors not shown. And then we have a getter, which returns my A. We have a setter, which sets my B equal to value. Okay, pretty straightforward. Create an instance of this class. Which of the following code segments will compile without error? Okay. So the constructors aren't shown. So for A, I feel like if you do object.getA, it'll go into here and it'll return my A. Oh man, would this not return because my A isn't initialized? So like, I feel like this one would work, but let me see what else. So int x, object.getA x. That wouldn't work, right? Because there's no parameter there. Int x equals object.myA. That wouldn't work because it's private, right? D sum class.getA, that wouldn't work because then it would have to be a static method for that to work. And then finally we have getA, and we're passing object. So I feel like it has to be A, because all the other ones, from process of elimination, this should work. So I'm gonna go with A. All right, that one was a little bit harder. Okay, so number 3, which of the following changes to some class will allow other classes to access but not modify the value of my C? Make my C public. I feel like that would allow, so that wouldn't work because you can modify the value. Get C would return my C. I feel like this would be B, but let me look at the other ones just to make sure, because this is also public. This wouldn't work because it's private. This wouldn't work because it would be, well, actually, this wouldn't work because you're not getting the value of my C, and this one's also private. So I feel like, what did I say it was going to be? B, right? Int get C, return my C. Okay, so that should be B. Consider the following code segments. X equals 7, Y equals 3. Okay, we have if-else statements. What is printed as a result of executing the code segment? Okay, shouldn't be too hard. So first, let's see which statement it would go into. So if x is less than 10, which it is, and y is less than 0, which it isn't. So I feel like it would go into the else. Let me just double check. If x is less than 10, that's true. This is false. So the whole thing would be false. Okay, so it would go into here. So the value is oh, this is weird because it's like the plus would be a string concatenation. So it would be x divided by y. These are integers, so there wouldn't be a decimal point. So it would be 7 divided by 3, so I think it would just be a 2. So I feel like this would be C. Right, let me make sure I'm doing that right. Yeah, 7 divided by 3, it would be 2.3, but it would round down. So I feel like it has to be C, right? I'm saying right, like there's someone there to answer. All right, number 5. These aren't too bad. It's just a little tedious and very like you have to pay close attention to detail. All right, public array list, integer mystery. Which of the following is printed as a result of executing the following statement? System.out mystery 6. Okay, so you're printing out an array list. So we're passing in 6, creating an array list. N is 6, so we're going to go from 1, and then we're going to go till k is less than or equal to n. So I'm going to bust out the scratch paper here. So sequence.add new integer k times k plus 3. So the first instance, so let me see how many times we're going to run this. So k is 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, right? So we're going to be running it 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 times. So the first time, it's going to be 1 times 1 plus 3, so it's going to be a 4. I feel like looking at the answers, it would have to be C. But let me do the next one. Let's see. The next time, K would be 2. So we're going to do 2 times 2 plus 3. So it should be a 7. Let me do one more. It'll be 3 times 3, which is 9, plus 3, which would be 12. So it looks like this is going to be C. I don't feel like we have to go through the rest of them, but let me again double check just to be sure. So it's 1 initially. Yeah, I feel like here it would have to be 1 times 1 plus 3. And then we're just returning sequence. I'm gonna go with C. All right, we're making pretty good progress. So consider the following method that is intended to determine if the double values D1 and D2 are close enough to be considered equal. For example, given a tolerance of 0.001, the values that and that would be considered equal. Okay. Return true if D1 and D2 are within the specified tolerance, false otherwise. Okay. Which of the following should replace missing code so that almost equal will work? Okay, so let's see here. I feel like all we need to do, I'm already looking at it, and it seems like E would be the right answer. By the way, they do give us this Java quick reference for common methods, but I'm not sure if we'll need this. So just looking at it, it feels like you would just take the difference between these two, right? You don't know which one's going to be bigger, so you want to take the absolute value, and you just want to make sure that it's less than tolerance. I'm going to go with E. All right, considering the following class declaration. Assume that the following declaration has been made. Person student equals new person Thomas, 1995. Which of the following statements is the most appropriate for changing the name of student from Thomas to Tom? All right, let me look over this. So we have string and int. We have the constructor here. We have a get name and a set name. Okay. So which of the following statements is the most appropriate for changing the name of student from Thomas to Tom? So A would set it to Tom, but it's not changing the name. I think it would be this one, right? Student.setName equals Tom, right? So if we go to set name, string name, my name equals name, that would set it to Tom. So that's going to be D. Okay. Consider the following class declaration. Which of the following declarations will compile without error? Oh, it's one of those where it's like 1 and 2, 1 and 3. Oh, God. Okay. Let's see. So student A equals new student. This should work because it would just be the first constructor, right? So 1 would work. this is a name and an int, it should work. This one will not work because it's expecting an integer, but we're passing a string, so it would be 1 and 2 only. So it's going to be a C. I feel pretty good so far. I feel like we've gotten them all right. Let's see. Consider the following method that is intended to return the sum of the elements in the array key. Hold on, my mind went blank there for a second. Consider the following method that is intended to return the sum of the elements in the array, okay? Which of the following statements should be replaced in the missing code so that sum array will work as intended? So the fact that it's starting at 1 means that we would have to do I minus 1. Sum plus equals key I minus 1. Because let's say our array is 1, 2, 3. I will be 1, so we have to go to I minus 1, then I minus 1 again, and then I minus 1. Yeah, I feel like this would be B, right? Okay. Questions 10 and 11 refer to the following. Okay, consider the following instance variable and methods. You may assume that data has been initialized with length greater than 0. What are my neighbors doing? It's very distracting. Consider the following instance variable and methods. You may assume that data has been initialized with length greater than or equal to 0, or sorry, greater than 0. The methods are intended to return the index of array element equal to target. Okay, this is, all right, I'm just gonna see what it's asking for. For which of the following test cases will the call seek search rec 5 always result in an error? The methods are intended to return the index of an array element equal to target or -1 if no such element exists. Okay. So we have this array. We have this here, which calls the helper. And the helper is a recursive function. This is the base case, okay. So which of the following test cases will call seek search rec 5 always result in an error? Data contains only one element. So if it contains one element, 6 would go in here. If data is one element, then it would be a 0 in here. If data last, I feel like this would be fine, right? Because it would be 0, then it would just access 0 equals target. So this should work. Data does not contain the value 5. Wait. I might have to come back to this one. This is a little confusing. What the heck? Okay, might not. Okay, let me just, like, I feel like this would work, right? Because it would be, the target would be 5. Then you would pass in 0. If data lasts, like if it's an element and the value is 5, this should work. Data does not contain the value 5. Okay. This one might actually be if it doesn't contain the value 5, so if it's an array with just 1, it would go into here. I feel like it would never hit this base case. But then it says always, it'll always result in an error. So I feel like it would never go into the base case if we don't have a 5. So it'll definitely be number 2 is one of them. Data contains the value 5 multiple times. I feel like that's fine. So say we have 5 and 5, and then we'd be passing in 5. I think it'll be fine. I think that's fine. I think it would just be 2 only. I hope I didn't just screw up my perfect score there. I'm gonna put a question mark, just maybe we'll come back to it. Okay, number 11. Which of the following should be used to replace to work it as intended? So I don't think it'll be any of the while loops. It's gonna be one of these. If last, you know what? I'm gonna come back to this one because it's kind of tripping me up. All right, consider the following method. What is returned as a result of the call to mystery computer? So if we're passing that in computer, the output, string output equals, is that a space or is that just an empty string? Okay, that's an empty string. For int k equals 1, k is less than input.length, k equals k plus 2, output plus equals input.substring, k equals k plus 1. All right, I'm gonna need some notes for this. So initially our k equals 1, our output equals empty string, and our input equals computer. So we're passing in the substring. So initially it's gonna be, the substring is, I think it's inclusive, and then the second one is exclusive. Okay. So initially k is 1. So it'll be 1 and 2. So I think it'll be, output will be O. Then k, we're gonna add 2 to it. So it's now gonna be a 3. So the substring is always gonna be one character. So here it's gonna be 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's gonna be a P. Then we're gonna get to 5. And it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be a T. It's looking like the answer is going to be C. And then we're going to get to a 7. And it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to be an R. Then our K is going to be 9. And then at that point, K is greater than input.length. And it's gonna break out. So this one should be C. All right, consider the following code segment, which will be printed as a result of executing the code segment. So we have an array here. Our K is gonna be 0. K is less than array.length minus 1, K plus plus. So our array is going to be that, oh, is it not letting me copy? 7, 2, 5, 3, 0, and 10. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So length equals 6. If array k is greater than array k plus 1, print out k space array k. Okay, let's just run it through and see what it prints out. So initially our k is 0. K is greater than k plus 1. So then we're going to print out 0, 7. And then k is going to increment. K is not greater than, 2 is not greater than 5. So then we can move k to 2. 5 is greater than 3. So then we're going to print out 2 and 5. Then our k is going to be 3. 3 is greater than 0, so then we're going to print out 3, then 0. And I think, oh wait, that's not one of the solutions. 0, 1, 2, 3. So 3 is greater, yeah, wait, it's going to be 3, 3, right? So 0, 7, 2, 5, 3, 3. 0, 7, 2, 5, 3, 3, that's going to be B, which is going to be our answer. All right. Consider the following interface and class declarations. So we have an interface vehicle, which has one method. We have a fleet, which is going to be an array list of vehicles. And then we have public double get total mileage. Return the mileage traveled by all vehicles in this fleet. So it loops through every vehicle and it just adds their whatever. Okay. So which of the following can be used to replace expression so that get total mileage returns the total miles traveled for all vehicles of the fleet? I'm guessing it's going to be get mileage. It's going to be v dot get mileage, right? Because I don't get how, so my vehicle is v, that's not even how you would access something from an array list. This would be, but yeah, it's nothing, there's nothing static in here. My vehicles dot get, oh, what about this one? No, I think it would, I feel like it would just be E. I'm going with E. All right, consider the following method is sorted, which is intended to return true if an array of integers is sorting in non-decreasing order and return false otherwise. Returns true if an array is sorted in non-decreasing order. So increasing order? Does that mean there can be duplicates? Okay. Which of the following can be used to replace missing code so that sorted will work as intended? It's another one of these where it could be multiple. I really hate it when they start with 1 because that throws me off. All right, let me look at number 2 first. So k equals 2. So if data k is greater than data k plus 1, return false. So the thing I'm kind of tripped up about is errors. So like I feel like this would throw an error if you try to access k plus 1 once you get to the last element. But this one here, it does k is less than data length minus 1. So I feel like this one should work. 3 should work. this one here, you're starting at 1, but you're checking if the one before it is greater than k. So I feel like it's 1 and 3. So what is this, number 15? I'm gonna go with E there. Dang, we're not even halfway, and I'm starting to... All right, let's move on. Number 16, consider the following incomplete method that is intended to return an array that does not contain, that contains the contents of the first array parameter followed by the contents of its second array parameter. Which of the following expressions can be used to replace index so that append will work as intended? Hold on, let me read this again. Consider the following incomplete method that is intended to return an array that contains the contents of the first array parameter followed by the contents of the second array parameter. Okay. So it's just basically, yeah, appending the two. So result equals, so you're creating a new array with the lengths of both of those. You're looping through the first one, and you are just setting the value to that value. And the second one, it should be result k, right? Oh. No, because k is at 0, so you don't want to, you'd be overwriting it. So you want to do 0 plus k plus a1 dot length because initially it'll be 0. I feel like it would be a1 dot length. I feel like this is D. I really hope it's D. I feel like it's D. Because if it's let's say they're both length 5, you'd want to set the 6th element. So it'd be see, this test is all about like off by ones. I want to double check this one. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have 6, 7, 8. Then we'd have this here, we'd set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'd have like, what, 3 extra spots? So if we want to set k equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, index 5, yeah, okay, it would be D. Okay, let's move on. Consider the following code segment. Which of the following represents the contents of ARR as a result of executing the code segment? So you're starting at 3. Okay, let's just run through it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. K equals 3. So you're going to set array k. So 0, 1, 2, 3, the 4. You're going to set it to array k plus 1. So this is now going to be a 5. This one's going to be a 6. That's going to be a 7. And will it run? I feel like it'll stop there because it's k is less than array length minus 1. So it'll stop when it's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6. It'll stop at when k is 5, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's gonna be C. Yeah, it's gonna be C. Right, let's just keep on moving along. Assume that my list is an array list that has been correctly constructed and populated with objects. Which of the following expressions produces a valid random index for my list? Okay, this is where we might actually, is there anything in here that talks about random? Okay, so math, it's a static. So what does this do? It returns a double in the range of 0.0 and 1. So you want to return a random index. So you would need to cast it to an int. So let's say we have a list that's 4 elements. Then what we'd want to do is we'd say we get math.random and that returns like 0.5. We would want to multiply that by, would it be the size? Because we want to, a random index. So we want to return something that would be between, it'll be 0 to 0, 1, 2, or 3. So 4 times 0.5 would be 2. That would be fine. So what if this is like 0.9? Then that would be equal to 1.8. Was it 3.6? Yeah. So I don't think you would need to add or subtract anything. Because if this is a 1, well actually, oh wait, so if this is a 1, is it between 0 and 1? Where is it? Yeah, so if this returns a 1, here's the problem. This would be 4, and that would be 0, 1, 2, 3. You'd be out of bounds. So you'd want to subtract 1. So the answer would be A. Assume that A and B have been defined and initialized as int values. The expression is equivalent to which of the following? Oh my gosh, look at this. Okay. So would these two knots cancel out? Is this some like De Morgan's law stuff that we need to do? I feel like this is De Morgan's law. But it's not. So what is it? You would knot the whole thing on both sides. Oh wait, so this is okay. So this is knotting. I really wish you could copy this. So, all right, let me just. So we have A does not equal B, and B is less than, or B is greater than 7. I don't think it matters. So if we want to not gosh, I haven't done this in like 5 years. How does this work again? Like you have to knot the whole side, right? So it would be, you'd get rid of that, and then this would be a knot, and then this would be that, right? And then I feel like we would wait, but this not only refers, wait, did I do this right? Did I copy it right? Yeah, so we'd want to get rid of, man, I can't remember how to do this. Do I not? So I feel like we get rid of this not, and then we not this, and then we make these ors, and then do we do that again? I feel like we would just do it again and then make this a not, and then make these ands, and then get rid of this not. So it would be, no, that's not even an option. I don't remember how to do this. I'm gonna have to come back to this one. Consider the following method. What are we doing on time? Okay, I don't think we're gonna make that 1 hour mark. Public static void array method. Which of the following describes the method array method? Which of the following describes what the method array method does to the array nums? So you have 0, and then, so you have 2 pointers, one at the beginning, one at the end. Is this doing like a swap or something? Yeah, I think it's just reversing it. Because you have 0. So you're setting x that, you're setting that to that. Yeah. Okay, I didn't see. The contents of the array nums are reversed. So 20 is going to be E. Well, this solves our answer of if it's going to be all coding or not. Consider the following method, which is intended to return the element of a 2-dimensional array that is closest in value to a specified number val. Okay. Which of the following could be used to replace missing code so that find closest will work as intended? So you have answer, which is math. It's the first index. Min diff, which is the absolute value of answer minus val. What is answer? Okay, that's that. So you go through each row. Okay, so this is a double for loop that just loops through everything, right? So this gets the row and then it loops through each number in the row. So find closest, okay. So let's say our answer is like 10. Let's say our answer equals 10 and our answer is the closest thing, right? So let's say the value is, we're looking for 10, and then our answer, say we found like a 13 or something. So now what we need to do is say we found an 8. We need to check whether answer, so we want to do something with absolute value, we know that. We're going to check if num minus answer, I feel like it should be answer, why is it not? So if num minus val is less than min diff, okay, this is going to be D. Consider the following book and audiobook classes. Okay, we have book, we have audiobook, which extends book. There's a constructor, calls the constructor of the parent. Okay, what does this want? Consider the following code segment that appears in a class other than book or audiobook. Consider the following code segment that appears in a class other than book or audiobook. Okay. Which of the following best explains why the code segments will not compile? Okay. So we have books, which is 2. We set books 0 equal to new audiobook. This is going to be annoying because we're going to have to jump back and forth. Line 2 will not compile because variables of type book may not refer to variables of type audiobook. No, I think that's fine. Right? You can have a parent point to... I think both of those are fine. Let me just go line by line and see if it works. So we have new audiobook, which is int and a string. Int and a string. So I think that's fine. This should also be fine because you have an int and a string. You're trying to print out books 0. I feel like it's going to be something like books 1.to string. Can you call that on an object? So you can call .to string. Books 0.length. I don't think that makes any sense. Let me just make sure this has pages per minute. Yeah, so I think it's this because there's no dot length on here. Right? There's no length. Okay, so that's going to be line 6. That's going to be D. Which question is this? 22. Okay. Consider the following instance variable and method. Assume that animals has been initialized and instantiated and initialized with the following contents. What will the contents of animals be as a result of calling manipulate? Okay, so what does manipulate do? For int k equals animals dot size minus 1. Okay, let me write this down. So our k equals, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our k is 5, while k is greater than 0, k minus minus. If animals.getK dot substring equals b, animals.getK. So it's just checking the first letter. So it's going to be animals k dot substring. So it's going to start with 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then animals dot add. Wow, this is okay. So it's just checking if the first letter is B, and it's starting at the end. So initially it's going to be true. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another element, animals.size k. Okay, this is trippy. Because it's saying add, but it's putting in 2 parameters in add. So I don't know if the second parameter is like the position that it's supposed to add it in. I'm stumped on this one. So let's see. So animals. So let's see what animals.add. Animals.add. So animals.size minus k. So it's going to be 5 minus 5. So this is going to be 0. And then I think it's just removing k. So would it be like this one where it's adding it to the beginning? So this, but I don't know what remove. It probably returns the value of what you're removing, I'm guessing. So it's at element 0, it's adding that. So baboon is now at the front. And then I'm guessing it's gonna go to bear and add that somewhere. Probably at the front. So it might be this, it might be bear baboon. I might have to kind of make an educated guess on this one. Or it could be this one where it's adding it at the second value. I'm gonna go with the, since we're running a little bit low on time here. Consider the following code segment. What is printed as a result of executing the code? We have old array. We have new array, which is a 3 by 3. You're gonna loop through the value. You're gonna loop through old array. We're gonna set it 0, 0 equals value. Let me print. So we have a 3 by 3. So it's gonna set 0, 0 equal to value row plus plus. I feel like it's gonna be kind of like this, right? If actually, let me. Yeah, so it's gonna be 1 row plus plus. If row equals 0, column plus plus. Okay, so I feel like it's just gonna go like this: 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Print out 0, 2. So 0, 1, 2. It's gonna be 7 deep. Okay. 25. A rectangular box fits inside another rectangular box. How are we doing on time? Okay, not that good. A rectangular box fits inside another rectangle box if and only if height, weight, width, and depth of the smaller box are each less than the corresponding values of the larger box. Consider the following 3 interface declarations. Okay. Which of the interfaces, if correctly implemented by a box, would be sufficient functionality for a user of the box class to determine if one box can fit inside the other? I feel like get height, get width, and get depth would work, right? Because you have all 3. Return true if the height of this box is less. Okay, maybe. I feel like 2 would work. I feel like 1 we wouldn't have, or 3 we wouldn't have enough information. I feel like 2 would definitely work. 1. I feel like 1 could work too, because we'd be able to just get the height of everything. I feel like it's 1 and 2. Assume that the array has been defined and initialized as follows. Which of the following will correctly print all of the odd integers contained in an array, but none of the even integers? I don't feel like this would work because we're not, wait, actually this could work. So we're getting x. If x mod 2 does not equal 0, print it out. So we have 1, 4, 5, and 6. So initially we'd be 1 mod 2. 1 mod 2 equals 1. So it would print it out, right? I feel like it would be A. But let me skim through the other ones. This one wouldn't work because it's starting at 1. So we could miss that first element. How is this one different than the first one? Oh, wait. We need to print, so this prints out x, and this prints out, no, this is wrong. That's wrong because it's printing out the index. I'm just gonna assume this other one is wrong too, because I feel like it's A. Let me just look at this last one just to be sure. So we're going through x, if array, okay, that's wrong. 27 and 8 refer to the following method: public static int mystery. Wow. What value is returned as a result of call to mystery 6? So if this is 6, our x equals 1, our y equals 1, our n equals 6. While n is greater than 2, x equals x plus y, y equals y minus y, return x. Okay, let's just run through it. We're decrementing n 1. So initially x equals x plus y. So now this is going to be 2. Y equals x minus y, so that's going to be 1. N minus minus, so we have 5. X equals x plus y, it's going to be a 3. X minus y is a 2. Decrement that again. X plus y is now 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. Decrement that to a 3. That's going to be 8. That's going to be a 5. And then we're done. And now at this point, x is 8, so we're going to return D. So yeah, I like that one. Which of the following is true of method mystery? Point B, point C, point A, point C. What? Oh, point A, point B. X will sometimes be 1. If it never goes into the while loop, then yeah, it'll just be 1, right? Which of the... Oh, at point... X will sometimes be 1 at point B. So if it's 1 and 1, it'll never be that, right? Because initially it has to be a 2. And then it always just goes up from there. So it's not that. X will never be 1 at point C. We just went over that, right? It could be if it never goes in the while loop, so that's not true. N will never be greater than 2 at point A. If it's initially greater than 2, yeah, it will be. N will sometimes be greater than 2 at point C. No. Because in order to get there, it has to go through this while loop. So it'll never be, n will always be greater than 2 at point B. Okay, I should have looked at that one first. So it's going to be E. Consider the following code segments. For int k equals 1, k equals blah, blah, blah. Which of the following code segments will produce the same output as the code segment above? Well, okay, let's check what the code segment above will print out. I'm going to save this just in case. Okay. So if k is 1, if k mod 4 equals 0, print out k. So basically it'll be at 1, 2, 3. So it'll be every multiple of 4 all the way up to 90, up to 100. Okay. So it won't be A. B won't work because it's going to initially print out 1, which is wrong. I think we want this one, right? We want it to start out at 4 and multiply by 4. No, because then it'll be 16. That'll be wrong. I feel like it would be E. I didn't really look at C though. Let me see. So if it's 1, no, that wouldn't work either. I feel like it's going to be E. All right, 30. Consider the following method. Which value is returned as a result of the call scramble? Compiler 3. So scramble compiler 3. So we're gonna have compiler. Compiler. How far equals 3. Word equals compiler. Okay, return word.substring that plus word.substring. Okay, so the first one, substring of how far plus 1. So it's going to be 4, and word.length, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus substring of 0 and how far, which is 3. So I think it's just going to take 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's going to be Euler com. Wait, 4, 5, 6, 7. Euler, and then 0, 1, 2. It's going to be Euler com. Consider the following method. The following code segment appears in another method in the same class. What is printed as a result of executing the code segment? Okay, so we have that. We pass in values, and then we're simply printing out every value. So what is this doing? It's going in here. It's looping through everything except for the last. No, it's looping through everything. And then data k plus 1 equals data k plus 1. Again, I feel like this is just one that we're going to have to run through. So we have 5, 2, 1, 3, and 8. So we're at 0. So we're going to set the one ahead of it to that. So it's going to be 7. This is going to be 8. And if we look at the answer, it's going to be C, unless it's, it might throw an exception. Let's keep it going. So we get to 8, then we get to this, which is going to be 11, and then it's going to get to here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to get to 4, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to get to 4, and it's going to try and access 1 ahead of it. And I think at that point, it's going to throw an exception. So this is actually going to be E. They almost got me on that one. All right, consider the following method. So we're going to call, which of the following represents the value returned as a result of the call compute n in q. So if we have 1, should we try it with like sample numbers here since they're not giving it to us? So let's say this is like 3 and 4. Let me do 5. So our answer, so I equals 1, you're going to go until k. I feel like this is going to be a power. So so answer times equals n. So you're going to multiply n k times. So I feel like it's n to the k, which is c. Let me just double check. So it's going to be 1. Yeah, so because it's going to be times n, which is going to be 3, and then times 3, k times. Okay. Consider the following method. Consider the following code segment, which is printed as a result of executing the code segment. Sum could be an infinite loop. Let's keep track of the values. So sum is 0, k equals 1. While sum is less than 12, wait. There's no, like, they don't change sum and k, so it might be an infinite loop because sum is less than 12. But it's also moving up. Or k is less than 4. Sum is less than, okay, so that's true. So we're going to add k, so it's going to be 1. So they're both 1 now, right? And then sum is still less than 12, k. So k never changes, so we don't like care about this. We just care about sum being less than 12. Right? So I feel like it's just going to be 11. Wait, what? I feel like it's just going to go and keep adding 1. So it should be 0, 1, 2, like up to 11. And then it should break out. But that's not an answer, so I'm definitely missing something here. Sum equals 0, k equals 1. Okay, sum is less than 12, that's true. So it goes into here, and it adds 1. Then it goes again, sum is less than 12, so it adds 1 more. It'll be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 11. Oh, okay, that's false, but this is still true. So then it would go to 12. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be infinite loop, right? Because this condition will never be, or always be true. Okay. So I think, pretty sure it's just going to be an infinite loop there. All right, consider the following class declarations. How are we doing on time? And I think we still have like, what, 3 more that we needed? I think there were 2 more that we needed to go back to. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. Not bad. There may be instance variables, constructors, and methods that are not shown. Which of the following replaced for the missing code will correctly implement circle? So we have point. Circle has an instance of point and double. So we want to instantiate circle so center, okay. So we'll create a new, so we'll do center equals new point. All right, let's just go through each one. So we have center equals new point. That's right. And then we set radius equal to r. That should work. 1 works. 2 would also work. 3, that's fine. Center.x equals a. Are these private? They are private, so that would not work. So it's going to be 1 and 2, which is not an answer. Okay. It's not an option. So 3 wouldn't work because these are private, so you can't access them. So we know it's not 3. So it could either be 1 only or 2 only. But I feel like it would be both like 1 and 2, right? Because it's you create a new point and you pass in A and B, which are doubles. And then you just set radius. Or if you go with 1, you're creating a new point. It has a constructor that has no variables, so 1 and 2. The only option that have 1 and 2 would be also 3. But like I said, man, I don't know, honestly. Wow. I might have to make a guess on this one. I'm not sure why 1 and 2 wouldn't both work. And the only option with 1 and 2 is 3, but 3 has these private methods, and you wouldn't be able to access them. I'm gonna go with B, but this is a straight up guess. This is a straight up guess. Consider the following code segment, which is printed as a result of executing the code segment. So while num is greater than 0, result equals result times 10 plus num mod 10. Okay, let's run through this. Num equals 2574. Result equals 0. While num is greater than 0, then result, so we're going to do result times 10. So initially it's going to be 0. Num mod 10 is going to be 257. So result is going to be 257. So that eliminates these first three. Num equals num divided by 10, so we just get rid of that. And then result equals result times 10. So it's going to be 2570 plus num mod 10, which is going to be 25. And then I feel like it's going to be D, and we shouldn't go any further because it's just going to get smaller. So I'm going to go with D. Consider the following method. Which of the following test data sets would test each possible output of the method? So we want to get an even number. We need an even number. We need a number less than 9. And we need something that doesn't go into either of those. So 8. Okay, so 8, it could be 8 for this case. No, wait, this is, sorry, this needs to be greater than, number greater than 9. So we do 8, 11, 13 wouldn't work because this would also go here. So we need two numbers that are less, we need an even number that would go into here. Then 8 would go into this one, and then 9 would go into neither of them. So it's going to be A. Okay, 37. Consider the following possible replacements for missing code. Which of the proposed replacements will cause the code segment to print only values 1, 3, and 5? So we could either have while x is less than 6. So that would print 1. Then x would be 3, and then x would be 5. I feel like A would work. And I feel like this would also, 3 would also work, because it would be the same, it would, because if we get to 7, because this would be 1, yeah, this would also work. And then would x does not equal 6 work? No, because it would go to 7 and it would be an infinite loop. So it would be 1 and 3 only. We have D. Okay, there we go. We're getting close. Assume that x and y, these are short ones. Assume x and y have been declared and initialized with int values. Consider the following Java expression. Oh gosh, which of the following is equivalent to the expression given above? So y is greater than 1,000 or these two things. I'm gonna come back to that one. Consider the following recursive method. What value is returned as a result of the call to recur 27? So we have this 27. If n is less than or equal to 10, you go there. Otherwise, you recurse. Oh, it's like double recursion in here. Ooh, that's trippy. So if it's 27, it would go in here, and it would be, so this would be a 9, right? This would be a 9, it would go into here again, it would hit the base case, and it would return 18. So now you have recur 18. So now you have recur 18. You call it again. And then it would go back into here to call recur 6. And that would return a 12. Then you would call recur 12. Oh my God, that's a crazy call stack. Man. Again, this would be one that would be helpful to have a pen and paper with. Consider the following recursive method. They really saved all the recursive stuff till like my brain was tired. Okay. We have like, what, 10 minutes left? 10 minutes or so? And we have, what, 5 problems? Okay, so if we're calling what's it do watch so it's going to be 5. It's going to print out first letter. Well, no, it's not going to print it out. It's going to take the first letter and temp equals str.substring. Okay, no, it's going to take, wait, substring. I think it's going to, okay, so it takes everything except the last letter. So it's going to be WATC. Then it's going to go into here, and then it's going to take, I think it's going to print out W, then WA, then WATC, then WATC. And I don't know if it's going to print out that last letter. Let me think here for a second. I don't think so, because it's going to say if length is greater than 1. So I'm going to assume that it's C. Okay, so now we have to go back. We have a few minutes. I'm going to just do my best guess here. Like we said, it's a double recursion with 27. It's going to go to 9. It's going to return 18. Then it's going to recurse on 18. It's going to go into here again. It's going to call this on 6. This is going to return to 12. It's going to go into here with 12. It's going to recurse again. It's going to go to 12 divided by 3. It's going to return a 4 here. Then that's going to be recur 4. That's going to return back an 8. And then I think it's going to be 16. Just from running it quickly through my head, I think it's 16. Let's go back to this one. Consider the following Java expression. How many do we have left? We have 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we're either going to have y is greater than 10,000 or x is greater than 1,000, and x is between 1,000 and 1,500. So I feel like this is one that we might have to do some conversions with. Is it if we flip these and then make it so if we have x is greater than 1,000 or x is greater than 1,500. I feel like these would have to be greater than or equal to, right? Yeah, I'm super rusty on how to convert these. I'm just gonna go through and see what I think looks right. So y is greater than 10,000, or x is greater than 1,000, and y is greater than 1,000. Or x is less than 1,500. I feel like these ones should be ands. I feel like it's gonna be an and, an or, and an and. I think 38 is D. Okay, let's go back to 19. Okay, very similar. So isn't there like a distributive property where this would be A does not equal B, or B, like this would be an exclamation point, something like that, and then like this would like flip this to that. A does not equal B, or B is less than 7. I think B is less than or equal to 7. I think it's B. All right, last one. Finally, number 11. I started the timer a little bit late, so I can't tell how much time I have left, but I think I have a few minutes. Okay, this is the long one. Which of the following should be used to replace line 1 so that this will work as intended? So what is this doing? Consider the following. You may assume that data has been initialized with length greater than 0. The methods are intended to return index of an array element equal to target, or -1 if there's no such element. Okay, let me look through this and see what this is actually doing. So we have a target. If data last equals target. Why is this one so confusing to me? This one it's like not really clicking for some reason. Sequence search. If data last equals target, return last. Okay, so if it's looking for what it's finding, otherwise you recurse. So is it just checking like the left side? It's checking like a target and everything to the left of it. Or it's checking last. But then last is, okay, so it basically just starts at the end and goes through the beginning. Okay. I don't know why it took so long for that to click, but so is it not working as intended? Which of the following should be used to replace line 1? Where's line 1? Okay. Okay, so it seems like it's missing some kind of base case here. So if last is less than 0, return 1. Return -1. Feel like that's what it is. If last is less than 0, return -1. So I'm gonna go with B there. Okay, this question mark here, I do wanna look over this because now it's kind of making more sense. Still have a few minutes. If data last equals target, which of the following test cases will always result in an error? So if data does not contain 5, yeah, this one would return an error because it would never catch 5 and then it would go to negative, which I had, right? I had B. All right, I think we're done. Let me double check. Okay, let me stop the timer. Didn't make it under an hour, but Definitely made it under an hour and a half. I'm not that confident that I got a perfect score. I'm gonna pause this, I'm gonna grade it, and yeah, we'll see. If I got like a 35 or above, I'll be happy. So I'm gonna pause it, I'm gonna grade it, and then we'll see how many I got right. If you're still watching, you are a legend, by the way. All right, so after grading, I got a 32 out of 40, which was obviously not what I was expecting. I actually started out pretty strong. I got the first 14 questions right, and I got 19 of the first 21. And then kind of at the end there, I don't know, I think I just got tired and I missed a bunch. And most of the ones I missed were kind of just me being careless or not paying attention. Like for example, like remember the book and the audiobook one, I picked line 6 was wrong. But what it was actually, what was it? Line 4 was wrong because books was trying to call a method that was implemented in the child class, not in the books method. So kind of things like that. So definitely took an L there, but hey, we still have part 2. We can bounce back. It's the free response, so I think I actually get to write some code. So let's go ahead and go down to part number 2. All right, so section 2, free response questions. And yeah, we're gonna be writing Java code. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. All right, so section 2, I did create a new file so we can write our code in here. So question number 1, consider the following partial declaration for a word scrambler class. The constructor for the word scrambler class takes an even length array of string objects and initializes the instance variable scrambled words. Okay. So it takes, scrambled words. Okay, so it takes in the word array. It first calls mixed words and sets it to scrambled words. We have the method mixed words, and then we have another method recombine, which yeah, just a private method here. Okay, so part A, B. Okay, so it's one of those where it's not really one, it's like 4 questions in one. So part A is going to be write the word scrambler method recombine. This method returns a string created from its 2 string parameters as follows. Take the first half of word 1, take the second half of word 2, concatenate the 2 halves with the new string. Okay, for example, the following table shows some of the results of calling recombine. Note that if a word has an odd number of letters, the second half of the word contains the extra letter. Okay. So for the example here, we have apple and pear. So you would take AP, and then you would take AR. For word 1, you would take PE, and you would take PLE. Okay, complete method recombine below. All right, so we have private string recombine. Okay. So what we want to do is take, I think we just want to get the length and then get the substring. So let's get the substring of the first word, which is going to be the first half. So we need to get, what should we call it? L1 equals word 1 dot length divided by 2. So for apple, it would be 5 divided by 2, which would give us 2. And then for L2, it's going to be word to. So here we want, so we want to get the start. So for like PEAR, we want to get a 3. So we would divide it by 2 and add 1. Would that work? So it'd be 4 divided by 2. We get a 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divided by 2. We get a 2 and then add 1. I feel like that's what we want. So it'd be word 2 dot length divided by 2 plus 1. And then we're simply going to return word1 dot substring 0 word not word1 L1 plus 1 plus word2 dot substring L2, and then we want to get word2 dot length. Now I do want to check for off by 1 errors. So let's run these two here. So we have apple. So word1 dot length divided by 2 would be 5 divided by 2. So we get so word L1 would be 2 here. So substring of that would be 0 to 3. So we get 0, 1. We wouldn't want that, right? I don't think it would be plus 1. I think it would just be L1. Right, because we have so APPLE, L1 is going to be equal to 5 divided by 2, so that's going to give us a 2. The substring, we want A and P, so it's going to be 0 and 1. So we want it to be 0, 2. Okay, and then word 2, for pair, it's going to be 4 divided by 2, which is 2 plus 1, so it's going to be 3. So we want 0, 1, 2. I don't think we actually want to add a 1 here. Wait, but this, yeah. Right, because 4, 2, and then this would be 2. So it would start at 0, 1. It would start at the A, and then it would go to word dot length. Okay, so that works for that. For the second example, again, I think we would just get a 2. So it'd be 0, 1, and 2, and then apple would be, or L2 would be 2. So we'd go from 2 to the length. So it'd be 0, 1, 2 to the length. Okay, so I don't know. I feel pretty good about it. Let's do the second part. So write word scrambler and mix words. This method creates and returns a new array of string objects as follows. It takes the first pair of strings and words. Oh, let me look at this class again. So we have, okay, yeah. So it takes in words, which is what was passed in. Okay. So it takes the first pair of strings, combines them, and we know that it's an even number of strings, right? I think it said that somewhere. And combines them to produce a pair of strings to be included in the array returned by the method. If this pair of strings consists of W1 and W2, the method should include the result of calling recombine. Could we just, I wish they would just give us examples of this. So if you have these two, calling mixed words should return the following. Okay, so it calls AP and AR, TH and AT. Okay, so it takes AP and AR. Then it calls the second one PA and PLE. Then the next thing is TH and AT, and then the next one is C and IS. Okay, so we can use recombine. And yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense, right? So we want to create a new array. So what's the signature here? Okay. Again, I really wish I could just copy paste this. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to create a new string. We'll just call it res for results. It's going to be a new string of size words dot length. What we want to do is we want to loop through words, and since we want to get pairs, let's I guess we'll just start at 0, and then we'll go while int is less than words, or I is less than words dot length, -1 I plus plus. Or do we want to do I equals I plus 2? Okay, I hope you guys can see that. Okay. So what we want to do is we just want to say, we want to call recombine. We'll just call this string ants equals recombine words I, and then words I plus 1, and then we'll say ants2 equals recombine, and then we just want to flip that, right? Oops. Okay, and then all we need to do now is we just need to say res 0, not 0, we'll do res I equals ants, res I plus 1 equals ants2. Okay, so let me just double check that. So if we have apple and pear, it's going to first get, it's going to pass apple and pear, get that. It's going to call pear, then apple. It's going to put ants in res 0. And then, okay, we need to return res. So this looks right. I just want to make sure I'm not getting any like out of bounds. I want to make sure this for loop, these conditions are right. So we have, so initially it's going to be 0, so it's going to call it on 0 and 1, and it's going to flip those. And then I is going to be 2, so it's going to be 0, 1, 2. So it's going to call it on 2, and then 2 plus 1. And then once it goes through again, it'll be 4, and then it's going to break out of the for loop and then return result. So I feel pretty good about this. And I think we're done. Yeah, I think we're done with question 1. Okay, not bad. That took about, what, 12 minutes? All right, so let's go on to question 2. Q2. Oops. I'm using a new keyboard for this, so I'm making a lot of typos here. Okay, so question 2. Okay, at least there's only A and B. That's not bad. So an array of positive integer values has the mountain property if the elements are ordered in such that successive values increase until a maximum value, the peak of the mountain, is reached, and then successive values decrease. The mountain class declaration shown below contains the methods that can be used to determine if an array has a mountain property. You will implement the two methods in the mountain class. So we have is increasing, probably is decreasing, get peak index, and is mountain. Okay. Write the mountain method get peak index. Method get peak index returns the index of the first peak found in the parameter array if one exists. A peak is defined as an element whose value is greater than the value of the element immediately before it and also greater than the value of the element immediately after it. Method get peak index starts at the beginning of the array and returns the index of the first peak that is found, or -1 if no peak is found. For example, the following table illustrates. Okay, so we have 11. Okay. So the peak would be there. For this one, there is no peak because it's always increasing. So as soon as we see something, okay, so if the first element is bigger and then it goes down, so I guess this wouldn't be a peak. But this one would be. So there has to be something before it that's smaller. I think that actually makes things a little bit easier. So how we want to do this is we probably want to just get the first value, and then we'll check the second value, and we'll just say, hey, if this is less than this value, wait, but that wouldn't work here. I mean, these ones make sense, right? You're increasing, and then once you decrease, you return that. 0, 1, 2. You would just check the next value and make sure that it's less than. But for this one, if you check the next value and it's less than, that's still not a peak. So do I have to check? That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird to me. A peak is defined as an element whose value is greater than the value of it. Okay, so it has to be, okay, so we just check. So there's two conditions that we check. So we start at this index and then check, hey, is the number before it less than, and is the number after it greater than? And if it is, then we return a 1. If not, we go to the next one until we get to the end of the array. Okay, that makes sense. Let's code that up. I feel like this part is actually a little bit easier than the multiple choice. So what we want to do is we want to say int I equals, we'll start at 1, and we'll say while. So if we get to the last element, does that mean the last element can never be a peak? I guess so, right? The last element can never be a peak, so we don't need to check that. So we just need to check while I is less than array.length minus 1. And if none of these are true, we're going to return a -1. And yeah, we'll just say if array I minus 1 is less than, what about less than or equal to? Probably not. It just says greater than the value immediately before it, and is also greater than the value of the element immediately after it. We'll just do, if it's greater than the element before it, and if it's also greater than the element after it, then we want to return I. Otherwise, we're just going to increment I. Is that it? I think that's it. Okay. So part B, write the mountain method isMountain. Method isMountain returns true if the values in the parameter array are ordered as a mountain. Otherwise, it returns false. The values in array are ordered as mountain if all three of the following conditions hold. There must be a peak. Is that what we had? Okay. The array elements with index smaller than the peak index must appear in increasing order. The array elements with index larger than the peak's index must appear in decreasing order. Okay. Interesting. So do we just need to get a peak and then go, have one method go to the left and make sure they're all decreasing, and then have another method that goes to the right and makes sure that all those are decreasing? So this is really more like get first peak index. Yeah, I feel like that would work, right? So here, this would be a peak, right? But we want to make sure that nothing, so everything to the left has to be decreasing, and then everything to the right also has to be decreasing. So I think we would only call get peak index once. So let's see what this would look like. Okay. So peak equals get peak index. I probably shouldn't be using autocomplete for this. And then we're going to pass an array. And then I feel like we would just want 2 for loops. Right? That's it, right? Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. So should we do a for loop or a while loop here? Let's just do I equals peak while, or we'll do peak -1. Well, let's get, wait, does peak return, it returns the index, right? Not the actual peak. So let's get the peak value as well. Peak val equals array peak. So now we'll say while I is greater than or equal to 0, then if peak, or we want to do it, I think we want to do it until, while I is greater than 0, then if array peak, hold on, we might not need peak value. We might just want to start at I. We might not need, actually, I don't think we actually need this. So if array I is less than array I minus 1, then we want to return a false. Otherwise, I minus minus. And then we're just going to do the opposite for the other side. We will have to set I back to peak. And then we're going to do while I is less than array dot length minus 1. We're just going to change this to plus, and we're going to change this to plus plus. All right, we're making pretty good time. So let's run through it with the first example. So our peak is going to be 0, 1, 2. Our I is going to be 2. I guess we could have just used the peak variable. No, actually we need to keep the peak. So we have I. So I is 2, I is 2. So if here is less than or equal to, right? I think if it's equal, then that also wouldn't work. And then here we might actually need to change this one. I'm thinking we might actually need to change this one to equal as well. I wish they would give us an example where they're equal. Okay, anyways, does it say that it's great? I think it says it has to be greater than. So if it's equal, then it wouldn't be a peak. So yeah, this array I is less than or equal to that. That's not true, so then I would go down to 2. And then we would say if 2 is less than or equal to 1, we return false. That's not true. Then we go to 1. 1 is 0, so it would break out. And then here, it would be the same thing, except in the other direction. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. All right, third question. We're actually doing a lot better than the multiple choice. Okay, so we have Q3. These are getting a lot longer. Okay. Question 3. So we have a 2-dimensional array of temperatures is represented in the following class. Temperature grid. A 2-dimensional array of temperature values initialized in the constructor. We have compute temp. We have update all temps. So part A, we have to write compute temp, which computes and returns the new temperature for a given element of temps according to the following rules. If the element is in the border of the array, the first row or the last row, or the first column or the last column, the new temperature is the same as the old temperature. Otherwise, the new temperature is the average of the temperatures of 4 adjacent values. Okay, that makes sense. If temps is in the table shown below, temps.length is 5, temps.length 0 is 6. The following table shows the result of several calls to compute temp. So if we have 2 and 3, so we have 50, so 2, 3 would be 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, right? So it'd be 50, 20, 40, and 40. So you just add them up and divide them by 4. 1 and 1 would be 100, 50, 0 and 40. 0, 2 would be the same, and then 1, 3 would be 240 divided by 4. Okay. Seems straightforward enough. So it's going to be private double compute temp. So we have the row and the column. Hold on, I just want to look at one thing. Okay, so temps is a variable in here in the class. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to check if it's on a border. So we'll say if row equals 0 or row equals is it temp or temps? Temps. Temps dot length or row, call equals 0 or call equals temps 0 dot length. So if those are true, we're simply just going to return temps row call. Otherwise, we're just going to return the 4 surrounding grids or columns or cells, I guess. So we return temps. How do I want to do this? I'll just do this all in one line. Temps, so we'll do row minus 1, call plus row plus 1, call plus temps row call minus 1. And then we're going to wrap this entire thing and we're going to divide it by 4. I think that should work. I don't know if it's going to complain about this being an integer instead of a double. Like, we'll just put that there just to be safe. Yeah, I think we're done there. Compute temps. Okay, part B, update all temps, which computes the new temperature for every element of temps. The new values should be based on the original values. Okay, so it will be necessary to create another two-dimensional array to store the new values. Once all the computations are complete, update the new values. The new values should replace and correspond positions of temps. Update all temps also determines whether every new temperature is within tolerance of the corresponding old temperature. Okay. So if temps contains the values shown in the first table below, then the call update all temps 0.1 should update temps shown as the second table. Okay, there's a lot of words in there. Okay, this one I have to reread this one. The new values should be based on the original values. So it will be necessary to create another two-dimensional array in which to store the new values. Okay. Once all the computations are complete, the new values should replace the corresponding positions of temps. Does that just mean it's going to copy over it? Method update all temps also determines whether every new temperature is within tolerance of the corresponding old temperature. The absolute value of the difference between the old temperature and the new temperature is less than or equal to tolerance. So if so, it returns true, otherwise it returns false. So the code in this is not, like, the coding part is not going to be bad. Understanding what this question actually wants is the hard part. Okay, so this is originally what temps looks like. If you call 0.01, I'm not exactly sure what this is actually doing though. It should return false. So what is the signature of this thing? Tolerance. So the whole thing returns a Boolean. And it updates all values in temps. What do we update the values with? That's the part I'm confused about, is what updates. Like, are we calling that other method the compute temp at all? So do we go through and then call compute temp and determine if the difference is between 0.01? I don't. Okay, I think that's what it's doing. I think we're looping through the array. For this one, we're calling compute temp. We want to store it in some other new array. We check if that difference is 0.01, which for the borders, it will always be. So, okay, so for 50, it would be 190 divided by 4. So for this one, let's see. So 2.3 would be 37.5. So that's not within the tolerance, right? So that would be a false. Oh man, I was doing so well. So update all temps determines whether the new temperature is within the tolerance. I feel like it's going to be returning false most of the time, like if it's 0.01. For updated 2.3 is 375. The original value was 40. Okay, I think that makes sense. I think I got it. So we're going to create a new 2D array. We're going to loop through it, and we're going to call compute temp for everything. Then we're going to loop through again and update all temps, and we have to check if it's going to be within that tolerance. Okay, so we'll say like result originally, we'll say true, and then we want to create a new array, call it new temps, or we'll just call it new t, and it's a double, right? Temps.length. Okay. So we're just gonna loop through and then we're going to loop through again through each column. Length. So new t I j equals compute temp compute temp I j. I should have used row and call, but it's okay. Okay, so now we've looped through. Now we have the two arrays. So now we want to update that first array. Could we do this in the same loop though? We might be able to do this in one loop, like in one double loop. Like we update the value, and then at that point we can just check, right? So we'll say if math dot the absolute value of new t I j minus temps I j is less than, I think it's, is it less than or equal to, or just less than? Less than or equal to. It's less than or equal to tolerance. This says that all of them have to be true, so I feel like we would just set res equal to false there. And then we have to return res. Okay, I think that's all we need to do. So we created this new array. We do the double loop. We set the value of the new array. We check that the difference is in the tolerance. If it's not, then we want to set this flag equal to false. Do we want to initialize it to true? I think we do. Yeah, it'll be true. If it ever goes in here, we set it to false. It just feels like it's like very likely to be false. But I guess it depends on the tolerance. So pretty satisfied with that answer. Let's go to question 4. Hold on, I just want to read this last paragraph. Okay. Yeah, it indicates whether or not all the new values were within the tolerance. Okay, tolerance, a double value. All right, last question. Okay, we're going, 45 minutes, not bad. We'll probably finish this one in under an hour. The following stats class creates and maintains a database of students' score information. The scores are stored in sorted order in the database. Okay, so we have an array list of score lists listed in increasing order. No two score info objects contain the same score. Okay. So we have record and we have record scores. Okay, so we need to write this first method here. So we have score. So what does this do? Record score. So write the stats method record that takes the test score and records that score in the database. If the score already exists in the database, the frequency of that score is updated. If the score does not exist in the database, a new score info object is created and inserted in the appropriate position so that the database is maintained in increasing order. The method returns true if a new score info object was added, otherwise it returns false. Okay, so do we know what score info looks like? Score info object represents score, a new score info object representing score. Do we get to see what score info looks like? There we go. So score info has score, num students. So it's increment, get score. All right, get frequency. So I feel like all we need to do is loop through score list. And it's in increasing order, so we can exit early. So we basically check if the values are equal. If it's equal, we just update the frequency and we're done, right? We return a false. Otherwise, we have to insert a new record. So let's take a stab at this. So we're gonna loop through. It's an array list, so it's gonna be size. So if score list dots, and what is it get, no, not get frequency, we want to get score equals score, then we just want to do a score list dot get I dot increment. So we get the object, we increment the frequency. Now, and then return false, right? If it's not a new one, I think it was they wanted to return false. Otherwise, we know. Well, let's see here. So if we ever get to, if scoreless dot get 0, not 0, get I, if it's ever greater than score, we know that we've passed it, and now we know that we need to create a new record at that point. So what we would do is we would say score info equals new score info. We want to pass it in the score. And then at that point, we want to insert it into score list. Score list dot add score info at index I. I think it would just be I. Because if we insert at I think it would push the other one forward one. And then at that point, we would return true. I think we'd be done. Like it'll never. Well, I guess okay, so if there aren't any records in it, then we might be in trouble. We might need like a special case. Like if the list is empty, then it will never go in this for loop and it will never insert this. So maybe we want to have a special case here where if score list dot size equals 0, then we just want to score list dot add new score info score and then return true. Otherwise, if we have one record in there, then this should work. But what if we get to the end of the list? We might need to account for that too. So maybe we'll do it here. So if score list, no. If score list dot size equals I, or I guess it would be -1, right? Score list dot size -1 equals the index that we're on. Then we know we're on the last index. Is that right? Because say, they give us an example here. No. So say our score list is like one element, and it's like, I don't know, or say it's, you know, say these are the scores, and we get a score of 6. Then I think this might break our code actually. Dang. Right, because we would get to 0, we'd get to 1. I would be less than the size. This wouldn't be true. Yeah, we might have to account for that. I'm gonna come back and look at this, but let's try B and see where we get. Okay, so write the stats method record scores that takes an array of test scores and records them in each database. Records them in the database. Okay, so we have public void record scores. Takes an array of test scores and records them in the database. The database contains at most one score info object per unique score value. Each score info object contains score and an associated frequency. Okay. I thought so we have to keep, it says keep the database in increasing score order, but I feel like that's what our record class does, right? Yeah, the record keeps the database in increasing store order if no score info object represents score. So wouldn't we just loop through it and call record? Is that it? I feel like I think that's all we need to do. Okay, I'm gonna assume that's all we need to do. All right, we are just under an hour. I need to go back and see what's going on here. So it works. So if there are no elements, it'll just go in here and we're good. If there are elements, then if we ever get a match, then we just increment it and we return false. Otherwise, if we ever get somewhere and we've like passed it, maybe we need it. Should we check the next element over and see? I don't think so. I think we just check the one that we're on. If we're over, then we insert a new record there. Otherwise, if we get to the end, maybe we just need to check that at the end. Like if we ever break out of this, loop, we'll just assume that our score is greater than whatever was passed in. And then all we need to do is we need to add a new score info at the end of the list. So say we have 2 and 5 and our score is 6. So we would never get into here, right? Do we even need this line anymore? I feel like we don't even need this line. So we'll say if scorelist.get is greater than score, then we'll insert it, but this won't work for the very last element. And then if we ever break out of here, then we'll know that it needs to be inserted at the end, and then we return true. Maybe not the cleanest code, but this would work. Okay, so we're done in like pretty much it's like exactly an hour. So I'm gonna go, should we just grade these right now, or should I pause the video? Let's take a look right now. So part A, well, the thing is I have to like check, I might like run these through an IDE and make sure that like the values are correct, or does it actually give us code samples? It does give us code samples. I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna go through and thoroughly check my answers, and then yeah, I'll let you guys know the results, and then we'll wrap up the video. All right, so going over my answers, actually got most of these right. So for the first question for recombine, I got part A right. For part B, I did have an off by 1 error in this for loop. This should actually just be words.length. So I'd get like a point off there. For question 2, I got get peak index. Again, I had this should be greater than instead of greater than or equal. I actually had it right, and I did change it. These should be greater than that. I would probably get another point off for that. For is mountain, there were actually methods in the class that did this for us, would check that if everything was increasing or decreasing. So for that, I would have just called those methods instead of implementing it myself. I don't know if I would get points off for that, but let's just say I would get 1 point off. So that'd be 3 points off. For question 3, this should be temps.length -1, and this should be temps 0 length -1, but everything else was right. This part for here, this should actually be, if it's greater than tolerance, then return false. So we'll say we got 4 or 5 points off total. And then for this part here, I actually got record right, and I got the part B right. So overall, I got about 5 points off. So if we want to calculate my final score, so let's say we got a 45% on the second part. The first part, I got 32 out of 40, which is 80%, which out of 50 would be 40. So it'd be 40 plus 45. So overall, we got probably around like an 85 out of 100, which would be like a B. Again, the multiple choice stuff, I felt like I could have done better. I feel like if I did it again for like the real exam, I kind of know what to expect now. And then we finished pretty strong with the coding part, so I'm happy about that. But overall, I mean, this was just for fun. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are still watching, I mean, that's very impressive. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.